Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to the Sports Bandits. I'm Brian, this is Austin, and this week we're going to cover some more good college football games, and we even have a surprise segment at the end, so stay tuned for that. First game's a big SEC matchup. It's Mississippi State traveling to Alabama. Austin, how do you see this game going?
Well, for Mississippi State, Vic Ballard, their running back, he's the biggest source of their offense, and he's going to need to have a huge game for them. He already has 12 touchdowns on the season. Look for him to have at least a multi-touchdown game for Mississippi State to win. Obviously, on the other side, the defense is going to have to try to shut down McElroy and Ingram. LSU last week, they beat Alabama by winning the turnover battle 2-0, and also they held Ingram to only 97 yards of offense. If Mississippi State can put up similar numbers to what LSU did, then I think they have a chance to win this.
Well, in this game, Alabama's playing at home, so they're going to have the crowd behind them and everything. I look for the Alabama offense to come out and not just play with just the run. McElroy's been passing well. Mississippi State has actually averaged more rushing yards per game than Alabama has this season. So I look for Alabama to come out with a lot of play action, try to get the running backs, to get the linebackers to sink in and let McElroy make decisions over the top. So I look for them to have a big game passing and occasionally throw in a run, with Richardson, Ingram, very capable runners. I look for Alabama to be able to take this game with a very balanced offense.
Moving on to the Big 12, we have Kansas State traveling to Columbia to take on the Missouri Tigers. Brian?
Well, again, same story for them. Missouri's going to be playing at home. The crowd will get behind them. I think the key for this game is to keep the ball in Gabbert's hands. Let him make the decisions for this team. He's been a very quality player, and I really look for Missouri to try to keep the ball with him, not try to run it as much, but to let him make decisions over the top. On the defensive side of the ball, they need to stop Daniel Thomas. He's been a big threat for Kansas State this season, and one weakness in the Missouri defense that I've seen was whenever they got a good runner in there, they weren't able to stop them. When Roy Finch came in for Oklahoma, Missouri had a lot of trouble adapting to his style of run. So I look for Missouri's defense to need to stop Daniel Thomas in the run.
Well, to say that Daniel Thomas isn't the life of the Kansas State offense is a complete understatement. He has more rushing attempts this season than all of the Kansas State quarterbacks have passing attempts combined. He's going to need to have a big game for Kansas State on offense. On the defensive side of the ball, you mentioned Blaine Gabbert for Missouri, their quarterback. The last 2 weeks have been Missouri's only 2 losses, but he has had his lowest output in terms of quarterback rating and completion percentage. And also last week in their loss to Texas Tech, he had his lowest yardage and his first game of the season without a touchdown pass. Obviously, this is the worst he's been all season, and if Kansas State can play good, put good pressure on him defensively, cover his receivers, maybe put an extra guy, an extra linebacker, an extra guy in the secondary, I think that they can confuse Gabbert, can keep him on his bad streak, and give Kansas State a chance to win.
Our next game, a battle in the SEC East for control of that side of the conference. South Carolina travels to the Swamp to face Florida. Austin, how do you think Florida can win this game?
Well, an interesting thing for Florida is that they don't really have one player who stands out. They've had Tim Tebow all this time. The closest thing would be Jeffrey Demps, their running back. He's their leading rusher. He's a good complement to their quarterback, John Brantley, who got benched for a little bit last week. He's going to need to come back and play a decent game. He can't have a bench-worthy game like he did versus Vanderbilt. Also, an X factor I see on the offense is Trey Burton. He's a quarterback for Florida. He plays the same kind of role that Tim Tebow did back when Chris Leak was the starter. He's coming to the line. He has 10 touchdowns on the season. Most of his games, he only has about 2 or 3 rushing attempts. Last couple of weeks, he's had a few more. He's had more chances, and look for him to be involved in this game for Florida.
For South Carolina, I think the big key is stopping Florida's run attack. If they can stop Jeffrey Demps and cause John Brantley to hold on to the ball, that can cause all sorts of problems for the Florida offense. John Brantley has not been a strong link in this Florida team this season. And I look for South Carolina to try to get pressure on the quarterback, make him make bad decisions, force turnovers, and that would keep them in the ballgame for a long time. The winner of this game takes control of the SEC East, so South Carolina is looking for another shot to end potentially someone's season. And I really think that they have a good chance if they can stop the run game in this game.
Going on to the Big 12 South, where it's basically an elimination game between Texas A&M and Baylor. There are 4 teams right now tied with 2 losses in the conference. But these are 2 of them. A loss here would be a third and would probably knock the team out of contention for the Big 12 South title. So, Brian, what do you see going on here?
Well, in this game, I really look for Texas A&M to step up, and they've got to get pressure on the quarterback. They did a great job of doing that to Landry Jones last week, but the only problem I had was there were a couple times where Landry Jones was able to slip out of the pocket and get rushing yards down the sideline. If you do that with Robert Griffin, it's going to be more than just a few yards. He'll break it free. So I really think Texas A&M needs to get pressure on the quarterback, but also contain him. They need to make sure the pocket collapses around him. And if they can shut down Robert Griffin in this game, they have no problem stopping Baylor.
Well, I think the situation is set up very well for them. They're coming off a real tough loss on the road to Oklahoma State. They really just got exposed. They got destroyed in what should have been a pretty equal matchup. Texas A&M, on the other hand, is coming off a very emotional home win. Now they're going on the road to take on Baylor. It's set up for A&M to have a big hangover and have a loss. And so if Baylor plays well, I think they should be able to win this game easily. Obviously, Robert Griffin, their quarterback, he's going to need to have a good game. The interesting part here is Ryan Tannehill, A&M's quarterback. Baylor's going to have to find a way to stop him, but since he's been brought in mid-season, he's been exceptional, along with the fact that there isn't as much to go on with him in terms of game footage. He has only played a couple of games, so there's less for Baylor to work with in terms of trying to prepare for him. But if they can prepare a solid game plan for Tannehill, they can shut down this A&M offense.
All right, well, moving on to our picks on these games for the week. Austin, how do you see the Bama-Mississippi State game going?
Well, in Tuscaloosa, that gives Bama a huge advantage. If this was at Mississippi State, I say it could go the other way. But I think at home, coming off a loss, Bama is going to rebound, and they're going to have a 31-20 win.
I feel exactly the same way as you do. They're going to be playing at home, coming off a tough loss last week. I really look for them to just be resurgent and try to keep their foot in the door for the SEC West. I don't really think they have a great chance of being able to pull it off now, but this could be their last stance. So,
going on to the Big 12 North, Tigers and Wildcats, what do you see happening?
Well, in this game, I really think that Missouri playing at home, Blaine Gabbert will get back on track. He's been on the road the last couple of weeks, and it's just caused him problems. I think getting back at home, just playing well, he'll be able to shut down Kansas State's defense, and I think the defense will be able to stop Daniel Thomas, and Missouri will take this game.
Yeah, another similar situation to that A&M Baylor. Kansas State had the big home win over Texas. Now they're going on the road. Missouri had that bad road loss, and now they're coming home. It sets up very well for Missouri, and I think they'll win this game 24-20.
Moving on to the Florida-South Carolina game, Austin, how do you see that game going?
Well, I like Florida in this game. I think they had a rough patch in the season when they had 3 straight losses, but they're playing better now. I see Jeffrey Demps to have a good game, and I think Florida will be able to sneak by this one 30-24.
Well, South Carolina was able to stop the Alabama running attack, and I look for them to be able to do that again here. And if they can do that, then, like I said, John Brantley can make lots of poor decisions on the field. So I look for South Carolina to actually take this game if they can stop Jeffrey Demps, and I think they'll be able to do that just enough to cause Brantley to make a few errors, and I think South Carolina will win the turnover battle, and they will be able to take this game in the Swamp.
Aggies are traveling to Waco to take on the Bears. Brian?
Baylor's been playing great this year, and I think that Texas A&M's defense will get the pressure on Robert Griffin, but I don't look for them to be able to contain him. We saw a lot of problems with Landry Jones getting out of the pocket and being able to run around. Robert Griffin's not Landry Jones. He's going to be able to break free out of that pocket and make moves and cause defenders to miss. And I look for Baylor to be able to put the ball in on 4th and 1 from the goal line. So I think they'll be able to take down Texas A&M.
Yeah, I love Baylor in this matchup. I think that they're just going to be too prepared. There's going to be you can't be over prepared, but they're going to be perfectly prepared for this game. They kind of had a wake up call against Oklahoma State after they were having this really magical season. I think they get back on track, and I think they win this game 41-31.
All right, well, moving on to a new segment we're going to add on this show. It's called the Can't Miss Game of the Week, where Austin and I will tell one game in any sport that we think that you can't miss. Austin, why don't you start out?
Well, I'm traveling across the pond to London. There's a big cricket match. No, I'm not going to talk about cricket. But Brian and me actually picked the same game. He'll talk about it in a second. So I'm going to talk about a big game in the NFL. The New England Patriots are traveling to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. This should be a really close game. An interesting thing to keep your eye on is the fact that Stephen Gostkowski, the kicker for the Patriots, is out with an injury. Shane Graham has been called in to kick for the Patriots. And what's a really close game with a kicker you're picking up off free agency, you don't know what you're going to get. And I think that's a real good chance for maybe Pittsburgh to win it by a field goal.
Well, I think the biggest game of this week is in women's college basketball. Number 2 Baylor travels to number 1 Connecticut, and Connecticut's riding a 90-plus game win streak.
78 right now.
78.
It'll be 79 once they beat Holy Cross.
Well, I really look for Connecticut in this game. It's a rematch of the Final Four of last year. Right. Brittany Griner for Baylor coming in. Maya Moore still for UConn playing there. It'll be a big matchup up in UConn. The problem I see here, Baylor's point guard quit this last week, so I don't think Baylor's quite the team that people had envisioned at the beginning of the season when they got that number 2 ranking. But I still think that this game will be closer than a lot of people think. Baylor's a good resurgent team. UConn lost some players from last season, so I look for this game to be really close, but I think that UConn will take it and continue that streak on for
there's a lot of stuff going on in this game. UConn is bringing in 5 freshmen, along with Maya Moore and a few other returning starters from the Final Four of last year. Baylor's only bringing in 2 freshmen. Aside from Kelly Griffin, who walked off, just got up and left last week, they're returning most of their Baylor's returning most of their players. Brittany Griner now gets to go against UConn without Tina Charles in the middle. Brittany Griner only had 13 points in their Final Four matchup. I think look for her to have a much better game. In the end, I think UConn will win it because they're at home. I don't see anyone being able to beat them at home. I think you wait till they get on the road until they have a chance to probably lose a game.
All right, well, it is the Every Other Ith show this week, so we are going to have another drawing for a guest appearance, and we'll see how this goes. Again, we will draw 2 names this week, and the first one we draw will be the, official winner, and the second one will be runner-up, and will take the place of the winner if he or she is not able to fulfill their duties.
Okay.
So this
we need to put legal copy on.
This is kind of like the Miss America pageant. I'm excited.
No, this isn't about the Miss America pageant at all. Let's see.
I'm nervous.
That's the back of the paper. And our winner is Kira Roth.
Kira Roth, you are our winner this week, and now we will draw our second one. Our runner-up.
Runner-up is Karen Cochran.
Oh, Karen Cochran. So I would like to say that we will have our first female appearance on the show next week.
Yes,
either way. So we would like to remind you that we have a blooper show. Not remind you, first time.
Yes.
We're going to be making a blooper show of all of our outtakes on this show. So that will be up sometime this week. Be watching our Facebook page to see when that comes out. Feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook, and now our new Twitter account. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you again next week.